Yo, what's up guys? We are back on Pokemon Showdown for another video today. It's my draft analysis for the NPL. It's a league I'm part of since Season 1, we're in Season 2 now. And yeah, we finished the draft like 1 or 2 weeks ago, and the season will start in like mid-August. So I decided it would be nice to show you my team and like tell you what I plan to do with the season. I actually won Season 1, like I finished the regular season 8-2 I believe, and then won like all my playoff matches and beat my good buddy Trevor, Sheerforce is his YouTube name, in the finals. He created the league and he invited me back for Season 2 to defend my title, so that's nice. This season we changed the draft form to the GBA style draft, where you have like 5 different tiers of mons you can pick from, and you have like to pick 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 2 tier 3s, 1 tier 4 and 1 tier 5 mon. Then you have to pick a mega, and then you have 400 draft points for four other mons. And like tier 1 was like 180 points that you could spend on, and you could get like points back when you drafted a lower tier mega, for example. And you also could franchise a Pokemon if you were like part of Season 1, or if you were a new coach, you could like franchise a mon that wasn't on a roster in Season 1. So a lot of people franchise stuff, and because I won Season 1, I actually got to franchise one mon of my choice for no loss of points in the draft, so that was kind of nice. And I decided, as you see here, to franchise my boy Hattori Hanzo, my Aselgor. I didn't really plan to franchise at all, but because I won Season 1, I had the last pick in the first round, and then of course a wheel pick for all remaining rounds. So I decided it would be nice to have a mon to not build around, but that can fit on a lot of teams and don't have to worry if I can get it later in the draft or something. And because it was for free, it was like a no-brainer for me to franchise Aselgor, because I use Aselgor in almost every league. I've won 3 or 4 leagues with it, and yeah, I really love this mon. It's like a fast spiker. People who know me know that I love my spike stackers, and Aselgor is pretty much the best spiker in the game besides maybe Skarmory. But what Skarmory lacks in speed, Aselgor has like a lot of it. It's base 145, nothing really outspeeds besides stuff like Mega Alakazam or Mega Beedrill or something, but they are not really too big of a threat, because like I can always run a Focus Sash as my item and then get up one guaranteed layer of spikes. And because this mon here gets Final Gambit, as you can see, it basically is guaranteed to keep up the spikes on the field if you run a hyper offensive team, because Final Gambit A does damage to the opponent, and B by dying to the attack, basically by killing itself, it blocks Rapid Spin and Defog versus Spin if it decides to come out. So, and then obviously another mon that wants to revenge the Spinner can come out on my side and then get like the offensive style of play going by just getting up hazards and then try to kill everything before it kills you. So Aselgor is a pretty decent mon in form, in my opinion. It was tier 4 I believe, but it has a good pool of abilities with Unburden. The speed is doubled if it loses its item. So after I consume my Focus Sash, which I will probably run most of the time, I have like the highest speed in the game. Even if I don't run Timid, I have like almost 400 speed at level 50, which outspeeds everything besides basically everything besides maybe Mega Alakazam and a Tailwind or something like that, but that probably won't happen. It also gets Sticky Hold, which is nice if you run like a Life Orb or something like that, or just an item that you don't want to lose. It sucks that Knockoff still does more damage because you still hold an item, but you can lose it to Knockoff, so that is kind of nice if I want to run like a Spec set or a Life Orb set. That is pretty nice to have. Looking at its move pool, it doesn't get like the best coverage in the game, but with stuff like Bug Buzz and Focus Blast basically gets all it needs, because these two moves basically hits everything for at least neutral damage. Also gets Energy Ball, I believe, it gets Agility Baton Pass, which I could go for, it gets Giga Drain, it gets Knockoff, it gets U-Turn, it gets Recover, but as frail as it is, it doesn't really work out for him that well. Gets Pursuit, but the physical attack isn't that great, so I don't really have to run it at all. But it gets Toxic, it gets Encore, which is always nice to have, like anchoring stuff into, for example, Stealth Rock or Setup Move can be like crucial to prevent like a sweep, for example, if you lock something into Sword Stance or Substitute. It gets Infestation if I want to use that. Gets Me First, which could be helpful sometimes if maybe something goes for super effective hit versus me, which is also super effective versus my opponent. I could go for like a move that I don't normally get by being faster and then hit my opponent with it. So that could work out. Yeah, it's like Aselgo is not a most versatile one. Most of the time just sets up hazards and maybe gets off a big Bug Buzz or Focus Blast or Final Gambit on stuff, but it really is tremendous when it comes to playing high power offense. Most of the time I like to run balance, but in the right matchup, for example when I don't have a switch in for a certain mono on my opponent's team, I could potentially run Spike plus Stealth Rock setting and then have like 4 very offensive mons that can easily sweep through my opponent's team. And what is great about Saga is it allows me to really pressure my opponent if it has like a more bulky team too, because spikes on versus stall or bulky offense teams are terrible, because you don't want to get, if you run a bulkier mons, you don't want to get Stealth Rock and spikes because it really hinders your ability to not be 2-hit KO'd or 3-hit KO'd by certain attacks from stronger mons that I also have on my team. And yeah, spikes really can make the difference between a 1-hit KO and a 2-hit KO or something. So you probably will never see me not draft a spiker, because spikes are really good in the league format. So I expect my boy Aselgo here to come to a couple games, maybe like 5 or 6 out of like 12 regular season games, set up spikes and really help some of my mons sweep. What also nice is that it gets Baton Pass and different stat moves like Agility or even Karma doesn't get Karma, but could Baton Pass Agility, for example. And yeah, Baton Pass clause isn't in effect, so it could get like Acid Armor Agility and pass it into some of my mons, which could like help other stuff set up easier, or even like help it set up when it doesn't get like a speed boosting attack by itself. So that's also an option on the Selgo, and also gets like very situational moves like Guard Swap or Guard Split or Power Swap or something, which could come in handy in the right matchup. So it also gets like Radiant, Sandstorm and Sunny Day, so if I want to run weather versus certain teams, I can do that. It's just overall a very good mon, especially in the form, because it pressures a lot of different playstyles and teams. Yeah, that was my franchise for the season. So we go into the first round of the draft basically, and I had, of course, as I said, I had the 16th pick because I won last season. So a lot of stuff got sniped. I really wanted stuff like Mega Venusaur, Mega Gardevoir here, like just a powerhouse that I can build around, because like, as I said, I get a lot of later picks, and there was a big chance that I get sniped, because in between my 2 picks, because I get a wheel pick, there were 30 picks that got drafted, so I basically was guaranteed to be sniped like 2 to 3 times per round. So, but of course, Mega Venusaur and shit got drafted earlier, and I decided to go with Rotom Wash as my first round pick. So it was a great value pick in my opinion, because it was a tier 2 mon, and is, in my opinion, one of the few tier 2 mons that are worthy of not only a first round pick, but also worthy of a top 3 or top 5 pick. Because Rotten Wash is just so bulky, can fill different roles, it takes hits for days, has great typing with a great ability, only has one weakness, and is like a terrific basis for a good defensive core. And I always like to have my assault defense core that can take on basically any combination of mons. So you will see me draft like a lot of bulk in draft leagues. So Rotten Wash is a great start for a draft like that. While Rotten Wash doesn't get like the best coverage in the world, it basically gets all it needs in Hydro Pump, Volt Switch. It's great Volt Switch mon in the form. The slow Volt Switch can be so helpful to get in stuff like slower or frail attackers and really let you gain momentum and pressure your opponent. It also gets Will-O-Wisp, of course, which is always nice to have to really shut down physical attackers, for example, Strong Dragons or Landorus T or something like that, or Excadrill, which all excel in the format in my opinion. And Rotten Wash is a very decent check to most of the physical attackers. Yeah, it doesn't get, as I said, the best move. Well, it gets Trick if you're on a Choice Scarf variant, it gets Toxic, it gets T-Wave, and Will-O-Wisp, so 3 forms of status. It gets like Dark Pulse if you need it, it gets Signal Beam if you want to really hit something specific. It gets, of course, Pain Split for a solid recovery option, because its HP stat is so low, only base 50, which is like 157 max at level 50. It gets Foul Play, it gets Hex, which is nice in combination with the Will-O-Wisp. It even gets Sucker Punch, and Sucker Punch can be very helpful because with frail psychic types, for example Mega Alakazam, which is actually in my division, a Sucker Punch from Quiet Rotom, even uninvested, does like 40 to 50% to a Mega Alakazam, so it is basically a solid check to that mon as well, because it can come in after it got weakened a little bit and then like revenge kill with the Sucker Punch. I'm not saying I run it, but it's definitely an option. Of course, it gets Dual Screens, Light Screen, and Reflect, which can always be helpful in the format and help you set up later in the game, especially if you run Light Clay or something. And yeah, Rotten Wash, it doesn't have like great resistances besides water, basically, which is the main form of the most common attack type it resists. Also ice, of course, but with its great books here, 107 defense and special defense, it's basically is almost never one-hit KO'd by an attack unless it's like super effective grass type, like a Leaf Storm from a Mega Venus or something. So it can basically take any hit, Volt Switch out of there, scare stuff out with its Will-O-Wisp, Hydro Pump, and Thunderbolt or something, and really is a good pivot and a mon that can help get in my next pick safely. So the next mon was basically the first pick in the second round, because I picked twice in a row, was Victini here. I never used Victini in the form, but it's always shown to be a terrific threat in the league format, because it gets such a great move pool. It has like Fire coverage and Blue Flare, and of course V-Create, it has Bolt Strike, it's Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam for dragons, which are basically the only thing that can really shut Victini down, or besides maybe a solid bulky water or bulky ground type, bulky rock type, but basically gets coverage for anything. It gets, of course, Psychic Step and Psychic Psyshock and Zen Head, but it also gets Final Gambit if I want to go that route with maybe a Choice Scarf. It gets Calm Mind to set up. It has Grass Knot. It has screens. It gets Power Up Punch if I really want to go crazy with my attacks that fire off even stronger V-Create. But it's like, it is a mon that can be incredibly versatile, but it doesn't have to be versatile most of them, because you can just strap a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf on there and then go crazy and fire off insane V-Creates, because V-Create, of course, has 180 base power, boosted by like 100 base 100 attack and a Choice Band. Nothing can switch into it. It basically all costs for 2-hit KOs the entire metagame, besides maybe Tyranitar or Dragons, for which you can always pack the right coverage. So Victini is just a mon. It is both a solid win condition if I can like weaken stuff to a point where it cannot switch out and it can just clean up with my Scarf Victini, for example. But it's also a fantastic wall breaker for another threat to maybe like clean up late game or something, because I drafted a very good revenge killer, as we'll see later in this analysis. Yeah, Victini, but it's like the premier wall breaker in the format, in my opinion, besides maybe like really strong special attackers like Dragalgi or something, or Porygon Z, which can like also what Victini can do on the physical side, they can do on the special side. So yeah, Victini is just a mon that an opponent most of the time has to over prep for, or doesn't even have a switch in for, which is always nice because you can get like at least 1 or 2 kills with it. Its typing isn't the best, of course, with fire and psychic, but it's a mon that can be defensive just because it walls, for example, fairy types or psychic types with maybe an assault vest or special defense investment. It gets Will-O-Wisp to shut down strong physical attackers, gets Thunder Wave for speed control. It's like such a big move pool. It has Taunt if you want to go with a defensive set. You can even go Trick Room if you're facing a very, very fast opponent team, and you could go Karma and Stored Power. It has so many options here. It gets Solar Beam if you want to run a power. It gets a skill swap to basically take advantage of something. For example, if an Azumarill decides to switch in on a V-Create, I can skill swap it and get the huge power, which would be crazy. Huge power V-Create would be like the total overkill. And yeah, that's Victini basically. It also gets Glaciate for dragons, of course, which otherwise would wall it. And like a lot of nice moves that you can like really catch an opponent off guard with. You can run like a Rest Sleep Talk variant. You can run Quick Attack to maybe like kill him on after V-Create, and that you would normally not kill. Gets Focus Blast, of course. Just has a terrific move pool that basically has no counters and is just a very, very good mon in the form with its base 100s across the board. So it's like a very solid beginning for me in the draft, because I have like slow Volt Switch from Rod and Wash. I have Final Gambit or U-Turn from Hattori Hanzo, my Aselgor, and can really get in Victini safely to basically get a kill whenever I wanted to. And of course I also have like already a water type and a fire type, so it's a good basis for a water fire Grasscore, which is basically a must-have in the format, in my opinion, because these typings all resist so many stuff the others are weak to, and you can really build a fantastic core around these 3 typings. So in the 3rd round, I decided there wasn't a good mega left that I wanted to have, or I thought it would fall to round 5 or 6, because of course I picked twice again. I decided to pick Tangrowth here, and Tangrowth is the last piece to my Firewater Grasscore, and it's just a fantastic mon in the form. It has Regenerator and can be really hard to take down because of that. You don't have to run Synthesis or Recovery. You can run Leftovers, but don't have to, because Regenerator gets you so much health back whenever you switch on. Just like Rotom, a great defensive pivot. Switch into attack, scare step out, and then double back out, or fire off like a Sleep Powder or a strong attack. That's a fantastic move pool with stuff like Ancient Power for fire types or flying types. It has Earthquake, it has Energy Ball, of course, Grass Knot, Leaf Storm, Giga Drain, Focus Blast, Knock Off, Poison Jab for Fairies, Leech Seed if you don't run the Assault Vest variant, which is, in my opinion, the best set you can run on Tangrowth in the format. As I said, it gets Sleep Powder, so you can always shut one mon down. It gets Toxic, of course. It gets so many moves. It gets Amnesia if you want to go that route and be the guy who sets up with his Tangrowth. It also gets Chlorophyll as an ability, so if I want to go with a Sunny Days, it can potentially sweep late game because it has very good attack and special attacks there. And yeah, it's just one of those mons that won't win you games on its own, but it's a mon that basically can wall 4 to 5 mons if you run the right set on your opponent's team. It's a mon that you can potentially bring every week when you face like not a fantastic wall breaker, because it can switch into so many stuff. It doesn't really care about burns if you run a completely special variant, and even if you're burnt, you can still hit a knockoff and get rid of someone's item. And looking at stats is just fantastic. 100 base HP, 125 defense is like, with the grass typing, it walls so much stuff. Look at his stats. I mean, 177 and 207 HP. Just like, it doesn't die to a physical attack basically, besides maybe a flare blitz from a Diamanitan or something. And of course you can run a set that I really like to run is max HP, max special defense, assault vest, because you still take a lot of physical hits. Just fine, you're basically never 2-hit KO'd by a super effective hit, and then you can just strap an assault vest on there and be very bulky on both sides. So, and with base 100 and 110 specialties, don't become set up for the either, because Leaf Storm or Giga Drain most of the time do still a good chunk to physical or special attackers that, or sweepers that are very slow most of the time. So you probably can get a big hit off, get your health back with Giga Drain, and not become set up for the, except for stuff like Mega Pinsy, of course, which is always a problem in the format, but still, even then you can predict like Sword Sense, go for the Ancient Power to basically OHKO it, and yeah, you can do a lot of things with Tangrowth, but it really excels in a role as a defensive pivot, and that's what I plan to use it most of the time. Although I'm not counting out running a Sunny Day sweeping Tangrowth once in the season if the matchup is right. But with my Rotom Wash and my Tangrowth here, I have a very good defensive core, very good pivots overall to get in my Victini. So over the first 3 rounds in my franchise pick, you see that I really try to build a core that lets Victini get in safely, because Victini is basically at the moment my best mon, and it really needs a lot of support because it doesn't like to take a hit, so you have to get a free switch and stuff like that. So I have a Voltron core here, I have a very good defensive pivot and Tangrowth that can scare stuff out and allow me to double into Victini, for example. So the next mon I decided to pick was my Mega. I really wanted a lot of Megas, but none of them fell to me, like Mega Venusaur, Mega God of War, Mega Scissor. Even I want a Mega Scissor to pair with the Victini, because another slow Volt U-turn would be great. I even had like stuff like Mega Alakazam on my mind before I drafted Victini, but everything got picked early. ZX was on my list too, but of course I got Victini, and then I was kinda like, screw that, because it was already chosen number 1, so I couldn't go that route. So I decided to get another defensive mon and a reliable Stealth Rock setter, because I don't have one yet. And that is my boy Winfield, the Mega Aggron. Mega Aggron, I have never used that mon before the League format, just like Victini, but it's such a good defensive mon. It's basically, if you invest like max HP, max speed def, nothing can OHKO you. Like, it can take even Bandit Earthquakes from Excadrill or something. It can take Fire Blast from like not the strongest fire type mons. Can like, basically one of the few mons that can OHKO Mega Aggron is Megazord Y in the Sun, but that's maybe one of 10 mons that can OHKO it. So with the filter ability, it just tanks so many hits. It even has like a good pre-Mega ability in Heavy Metal, because that allows you to take a low kick a little bit better, even though you're 4 times weak to fighting type attacks. But with the Mega Evolution, it gets its pure Steel typing, which is terrific. It's like, it basically says no to fairies or dragons. Nothing can really deal with it. It even has a terrific move where it gets the Element Punch, it gets Earthquake, Heavy Slam, and Mega Aggron weighs like, I don't know, 1,000 pounds or something, and Heavy Slam 2-hit KOs most of like the frailer stuff. It does like even 30% to a Mega Venusaur, so there's that. It gets Rock Polish if I want to run a sweeping variant with the 140 base attack. I basically don't ever have to invest in defense, because look at this, 250 at level 50. It's like, what physical attacker can really 2-hit KO me? and even then I could like sometimes maybe like 44 EVs are enough to avoid 2 chaos. It gets rest as a recovery option, and I will pair it with a cleric later in the draft, obviously, to get rid of potential burns or sleep from the rest. It gets Thunder Wave, which is always a very good move to have, like slowing teams down and gamble on a 25% chance to get fully parried is always nice if you're not like parried yourself. It gets Raw to prevent setup. It gets Dragon coverage if you like have to go that route. It gets Taunt for like slower monsters, like for example Hippowdon or something like that, if you wanna really make sure they don't get rocks up with you. It gets Toxic, it gets all the element punches, it gets Stone Edge, Earthquake counter, which is a great move on it. It can set up with Curse. It's like it gets basically coverage for everything and it just doesn't die. It gets setup options, it gets Magnet Rise if you want to go with that, because you don't want to be weak to Earthquake or something. It like it gets a really big amount of moves. I like look at this here. So there's so many moves that you can use, and it's a mon that can come. It cannot come every week, probably, but it's a mon that can like. Of my opponent's 11 mons, Mega Aggron most of the time can at least wall 4 or 5. So it's basically a good mon to bring every week if you like really want to have checks or counters for everything on your opponent's team, and it's a mon that can switch into stuff that other mons probably cannot switch in, for example like an Adamant SD guard chomp or something like that. It can still take it and then fire off an Ice Punch or something like that, or can even take like a Mega Lopunny, like one high jump kick, it can take it with ease and then fire back with maybe a Heavy Slam or something like that. It can switch into any types of fairies like Sylveon or even Mega Gardevoir if it doesn't run Focus Blast, and even then you can go with like a lot of special defense investment and don't be that weak to it, and it just is a terrific tank in the form, and with a Cleric, Wish Passing, Rest, and other monsters on the defensive side of the field, it can really put in the work and be in the running for Defensive Mon of the Year or something. So 30 picks later, it was back to me with the next pick, which is Hitmontop. I didn't have Hazard Control yet. I don't think Hazard Control is crucial in the form, but it's always nice to have. It's way better to prevent hazards, in my opinion, than to get rid of them, because Rapid Spin and Defog lose you so much of momentum, and you basically only need it if you bring a mon that is at least 2 times or 4 times weak to stealth rocks. Like Victini appreciates hazard removal, that's what I want to say, but the rest of my team isn't that weak to hazard, so I don't have to rely on bringing a spinner every week, so there's that. Hitmontop is one of these defensive fighting types that have a solid niche in the form, because with not the best HP set, but with solid defenses, 110 special defense is very nice, and the intimidate ability, it can check a lot of mons that really threaten other stuff on my team, for example ground types, for example, or rock types, which I resist. And as you can see, rock is pretty good versus my team, besides maybe the Aggron. Sorry, that's my phone right here, I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah, Hitmontop is just like, I like it way better than Hitmonlee because of the Intimidate, because I prefer bulkier mons. It basically gets the same moves with Close Combat, Stone Edge, Earthquake, Fake Out, of course, the Gyro Ball, Pursuit if you want to go that route, because it gets Technician, Mark Punch, Fake Out, Bullet Punch. It can set up with Bulk Up. It can it also gets Toxic, Sucker Punch, so counter if you want to go that route. It's just like a very good defensive mon that can check stuff like Dark types. Rock types can check stuff like Mamoswine, which is always a threat in the format, and yeah, it switches in on a lot of stuff with the Intimidate. Can pack a Rocky Helmet, for example, to punish U-turns from physical attackers. It gets Natural Gift if you really want to catch them on off guard, and it's just just a mon that fits well on my team because I have checks for its weaknesses. Bird Spam is covered by Rotom. Psychic weakness is covered by Mega Aggron or Victini. The Fairy weakness is also covered by Victini, and Aggron gives me just very good synergy overall on my roster. And yeah, it gives me a very versatile mon. It can be offensive with base 95 attack, can be defense, can be assault vest, and Intimidate and Technician are just terrific terrific abilities that are always nice to have in the form. Because if I want to catch like a -2 Latios, for example, with my Hitmon top, I can just pursue it with Technician and maybe an Adamant nature, so that I can do like 70 to 80% and get rid of a big threat in the format. So Hitmon top will help me deal with like a lot of different attackers, and that's just great synergy overall with my team. And next up, of course, I decided to pick a cleric, which is Aromatisse. Hitmontop and Aromatisse are both tier 4 mons, I believe. So very good value here, especially like when you like just like me like bulk over offensive power. And Aromatisse is a fairy type that I needed really much, and it's a cleric that Mega Aggron and Victini enjoy having. Also, Tangrowth doesn't really appreciate Toxics, it doesn't like appreciate burns, so yeah, you can really rely on Aromatisse to take hits with its very good bulk overall, 101 HP, good special defense and okay defense, and very good typing defensively, of course, and it's a very reliable wish passer which can pass 104 HP wishes if you want. So it basically heals Mega Aggron from like 40% to full if you pass a wish into that. Its move pool obviously isn't that great. It's Moonblast, Energy Ball, Flash Cannon, Psychic. So you could potentially run a spec set if you wanna catch some stuff off guard. But it gets Thunderbolt too, but that's not its main role. You always know what Aromatisse does. It always will go for wishes and pass them to other mons. It will go for Aromatherapy if you really need to. Aromatherapy is another move just like Defog Rocket Spin. It loses you a lot of momentum, but it can really give second life to a mon like Victini, so there's that. It's a Trick Room setter if I want to go that route, because like I have a solid offensive Mega and Aggron, which just like speed, so if I want to like set up Trick Room for it to sweep late game, that's definitely a possibility. And yeah, just gives me another very good mon synergy wise for my team. It takes on fighting type attacks that Mega Aggron doesn't like, and that I don't have a very good switch in for yet, so yeah, there's that. And of course it has very good ability for defense mon because it cannot be taunted, encored, disabled, heal blocked or stuff like that. So that's the ability I will run 100% of the time, because healer doesn't give you anything in singled. And of course it's a mon that will carry leftovers most of the time, but can punish physical attackers with a Rocky Helmet, for example. You could go Assault Vest if you really need to, but that's more like Tangrowth's job or Hitmontop's job. But you can also run Specs or something like that to punch holes in an opposing team if it doesn't have like a good fairy resist. And 99 special attack isn't that bad if you pair with like go Modest. You have like 166 I believe, yeah, and then a Specs on it. It's not bad when you have a good offensive typing and fairy. So you could fire off strong Moonblast, and that's another mon that on my team that is very defensive, yes, but it also isn't set up for besides maybe steel types, but even then I could go like for an HP fire or something to do a solid amount of that to them. But besides that, it never becomes set up for them because it cannot be encored or something like that. It can fire off Moonblast, which not a lot of stuff resists, so that's what I like to have in a wall, just being able to dish out damage and not being too passive, and Aromatisse really fits that mode and will probably give me a very good and reliable cleric to pair with my Mega Aggron. So next up was actually I was surprised that this mon fell to me, to be honest, because we're in the 7th round now, I believe, and I didn't think that this mon would fall to me. It's my mascot pick, the Crobat, and it gives me another form of passive control, of course, but I doubt I will run defog more often than once or twice this season on Crobot. It's just a terrific mon, gives me much needed speed. My team was so fucking slow. Besides Victini, I didn't have anything that was faster than base 100, and Crobot gives me that 130 speed, which is outspeeds basically anything that's not scarf. Outspeed stuff like Tornado's T, for example, which is terrific in the format and is in my division, so I can like get a big Brave Bird off on something like on that mod. It has very good abilities in Infiltrator, which go to through Substitute, and of course Inner Focus, which could be helpful if you face like a Mega Medicham or a Mega Lopunny and don't want to get fake out and revenge kill it with the Brave Bird, for example. Crobot also has terrific typing in Poison and Flying and Quad Resist, stuff like Fighting and Bug, and it resists Fairy, it resists a Ground Immunity. It has a bunch of weaknesses which I do cover really well though. Psychic is not an issue with Aggron and my Victini around. Ice is not an issue at all for my team because I have Rotom Wash and Aggron that can take them easily. Electric isn't that much of an issue because I will draft it around a ground type, of course. And yeah, Crobot gives me just a very good utility mon. It can be surprisingly good defensively, even though it doesn't have like the best stats. But if you go with like a max HP set, it's pretty bulky because it resists so many things and can really be a solid pivot. It gives me another U-turner, which Victini really appreciates because Crobot does scare a lot of stuff out and can U-turn on them, for example fighting types or fairies, and can basically give me a free switch into Victini or another one of my solid offensive threats, like stuff like I drafted later in the draft. There's a very good move pool, both physically and specially offensive. Special defense is kinda garbage with 70, but you get a Nasty Plot to boost it up, and you could go like with a Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Heat Wave set to really catch an opponent off guard if he only prepares for a physical Crobot. Of course, it's Brave Bird and Cross Poison to really take care of fighting and fairy types and hit a lot of stuff neutrally, besides steel types, of course. But you have like Heat Wave for that, and of course I have Victini to take care of steel types as well as Hitmon top. It gets Tailwind, Taunt, Toxic, Super Fang if you run defensive. It gets a Roost for recovery. It has like a very, very cool move pool that fits on a lot of teams when you like have to prep for certain threats. Crobot can take care of something, and just you can put Crobot in whatever role on a lot of teams, be it as a wall breaker with Brave Bird, a late game cleaner with a Scarf or Band, because nothing really outspeeds it. You can go with Natural Gift and a Berry, which can really surprise people. It's always nice to have moves like that you cannot really prep for because like it's so situational that opponents most of the time will forget about moves like Natural Gift or random hidden powers when they face certain mons. So Crobot gives me both defensively and offensively a very, very good versatile mon that fits great on my team. So I'm really happy that I was able to pick that thing. And of course it gives me a defogger if I really need to go with hazard control. And next up, I still cannot believe that this thing fell to around 8 or 9 or whatever it was. It is the Weavile, another tier 1 mon I picked because I had enough points left to draft better mons with my 4 free picks, because I gained 40 points in the for my free picks because I picked Mega Aggron, which was a tier 2 Mega. And Weavile is fantastic in the format. Ice Step and Dark Step is maybe the 2 best steps you can have. It gets very good priority with Ice Shot, which I lack on my team besides on Hitmon top. I don't have good priority, but Weaver gives me that step ice shot that can really clean up games, which with its terrific speed, so it doesn't get beaten by other priorities. It has 120 base attack, so Life Orb Weaver does so much damage to whatever wants to come in. Nothing appreciates a knockoff from Weaver besides maybe bulky, really bulky steel types or ground types, but then again they don't enjoy a low kick or an icicle crash. Like, you just cannot really prep for Weaver that much if you don't have like a very good and versatile defensive core. And Weaver, well, it has the greatest move pool. Most of the time you don't need more than knockoff, ice shot, icicle crash, and then maybe low kick, poison jab, or pursuit if you really want to pursuit trap stuff. It has taunt, toxic, sword stance for setup and to whittle down walls, for example. You could run always toxic if something has like maybe a melodic or Suicune that can switch in on you and that can toxic them. It gets beat up if you want to get rid of choice or focus sash leads, for example. Yeah, just doesn't have the best movement in the world, but with great step like knockoff and icicle crash as well as ice shot, you don't need it at all. It's another one that gets natural gift if you face like a scissor that can't switch in most of the time on it. You could just catch it with the natural gift fire if you want, and really tear holes through a team. Weaver is just like Crobat. It can be a good wall breaker during a game, like a mid game with bandits, iso crashes, for example. Sorry, as just like Crobat does with bandit, brave birds, and also is a fantastic late game sweeper with sword stance and ice shot. That like if stuff is weakened enough to a point where a +2 ice shot kills, and a lot of stuff is weakened to a point where +2 ice shot kills late in the game. So you can just send out Weaver, scare stuff out or take a hit if need be. It's like not a fighting type attack or not super effective. You can set up a sword and it's basically GG. So it's another more just it gave me much needed speed and more offensive power because I had a very bulky team at the moment, and it just Weaver in combination with Victini is terrific synergy wise from an offensive standpoint. So I really love to pick here late in the draft. So I really couldn't believe it fell to me, and I was kinda scared it wouldn't, because like 3 picks before me I knew a guy was contemplating the dark type, but he decided to pick Bishop because he wanted to save some points for his free pick. So I got kinda lucky there, but yeah, Weaver is such a great addition for my team, and I couldn't be happier to be able to get it late in the draft. So now I have 9 months on my team, right? And the next 2 picks I picked, and I will be able to use them in week 1, but I already made a trade and a free agency transaction because there was a trade I couldn't resist and the guy said yes. So I'm really happy I made the trade, but first I'll tell you what I picked in the first place, and that's Dragalge. I drafted Dragalge because it's a fantastic wall breaker. Of course, it gives me a Fairy Dragon Steel Core. It has like Step Draco Media on Sludge Wave, which is terrific. But and yeah, you know what Dragalge does. It set up Toxic Spikes maybe, but then it nukes stuff with Draco Media and Sludge Wave. But I traded Dragalge to the Kentucky Lux Race, I believe it was, for Nidoqueen, and that was a trade I couldn't pass up because Nidoqueen here, my girl Victoria, is so much better than Dragalge in the format, and it was actually a second or third round pick, so I got like early round value in round 10 or 11 here with Nidoqueen. So I got a ground type here. I drafted a ground type in the last round of the draft, but I got a better ground type here. A reliable Stealth Rocker to take off the pressure from Aggron to set up Stealth Rock, and a fantastic wall breaker and stuff that is really hard to switch into. Looking at the stats, it is not like very scary from an offensive or defensive standpoint, but with great typing, Sheer Force, Life Orb for example, and terrific move pool, it's such a nuisance to deal with. In my division there's a guy that drafted Nidoking, so I think he hated that I got Nido Queen here as much as I hate him for getting Nido King, because nothing really can switch into these mons if they pack the right coverage. It gets Sludge Wave, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Earth Power, Flamethrower, Fire Blast. You can run physical with Ice Punch, Poison Jab, Earthquake, Shadow Ball. It gets Sucker Punch for priority. It gets Taunt, it gets Surf, it gets Superpower. It gets Toxic Spikes, of course, and I really like to have all forms of hazards on my roster. It also is another one that gets counter, but you don't really need it. Just a mon that can take on so many stuff with its great defensive type, for example, fighting types, rock types, fairies, and it really can do so much damage with its stab attacks, even if you run like a defensive set when you don't where you don't run like where you run Black Sludge over Life Orb and don't invest too much into special attack. Sludge Wave and Earth Power with Stab and Sheer Force still hits really hard, and 2-hit KO a lot of stuff. So Nidoqueen gives me just a very good wall breaker, but also a very reliable Stealth Rock setter and another good defensive mon that can take off the pressure off of Crobat or being like to be a check to fighting types or something like that. Nidoqueen is just a fantastic mon in the form, and I'm really happy that I got that good value for a 9th or 10th round pick in Dragalge. And yeah, I couldn't really be happier to have Nidoqueen. It just makes my roster so much better. Yeah, Nidoqueen is just fits my team perfectly, even if it's a second poison type. But you can never have enough checks to fairies, I guess, because they can be pretty annoying. The last pick in my draft, which I can use in week 1 but won't have in week 2 and going on, is Sandslash. I wanted a ground type, and there was a good ground type left in tier 5. I had to pick a tier 5 mon, and Sandslash was the best ground type available at this point. It's a very solid mon in my opinion. It's a good reliable rapid spin. I can set up Stealth Rock. There's good step and Earthquake. Of course, solid defensive, physically defensive sets, good attack, but overall pretty underwhelming. It's not the best mon in the form because it only has like a good matchup versus certain teams and not that big a number of mons, so it cannot like wall an entire team on its own or something like that. So I decided, because I got Nidoqueen here in a trade for Dragalge, I got my ground type and my second Stealth Rocker, so I decided to drop it for a very surprising mon, I think. Don't have a nickname for that thing yet, because I don't want to know if I want to run female, shiny or not, and that is Lopunny. And the reason I drafted Lopunny mostly was because of these two moves here, Healing Wish and Heal Bell. I don't want to bring Aromatisse every week because it's pretty slow and can be easily worn down, but Lopunny allows me to have another Heal Bell and to have a Healing Wish mon that can really give second life into maybe a 10% paralyzed Victini or something like that. It also gets Encore to annoy some defensive mons and lock them into Recovery or Stealth Rock or Toxic or something like that. It has very solid move pool, even though it doesn't have the greatest stats, as you can see. But it still gets like Ice coverage, Fire coverage. It gets Thunder Wave, Thunder Punch, Thunderbolt. It gets like High Jump Kick, Return, can do a lot of different stuff. Also, Baton Pass Clause is not an effect in this league, so I could potentially go for like Agility, Cosmic Power, and Baton Pass if I find the right time to set up, which isn't that hard if you have a move called Thunder Wave. That could be a potential set, so I could Thunder Wave stuff, go for Cosmic Power so that it cannot 2-hit KO me, set up an Agility and Baton Pass out, maybe getting a full para or something, and like if I get like an Agility passed into Victini, it could be GG late in the game because it would outspeed most Scaffers. If I get a work up into Victini or Weavile or something, or even Nido Queen, it could be GG. And yeah, that's the reason why I drafted Lopunny. Like, it was one reason, but another reason is this ability, which is pretty dumb when you look at it. This Pokemon's held item has no effect except matchup race. Flink cannot be used. Sounds dumb in the first place, but with a move like Switcheroo, that could be like really fun to use, because I could pack a Choice Scarf and won't be locked in, so I could go Fake Out and Thunder Wave or stuff like that, by not being locked in and not getting the speed boost, and then something wants to come in, maybe a defense one thinks, well, alright, no, I can take it on, and then you can trigger the Choice Scarf to a Mon and make it useless. You can do that with a lot of items, for example, a Flame Orb, that would not burn you, but the Mon you switcheroo the stuff to. You could do that with Specs, with a Life Orb if you wanna, or with an Assault Vest if you wanna trick that to a Chansey or something like that. And yeah, there are a lot of items that you like really switcheroo to your opponent that could really mess him up, even if it's like a Lagging Tail or something, which would make fast attackers like, for example, Tornadus or Alakazam, it would be like, they would attack last always, like Hollow moves last in its priority bracket. So if they don't have priority moves, they would be forced to attack last every time. That could really shut down fast attackers, and they're just a very annoying monster to deal with, and a mon that most opponents won't over prep for, but if they under prep for it, I have a chance to really catch them off guard and do a lot of damage, even though it won't get a kill most of the time. Just a mon that can really help out my squad with its cleric abilities and the baton pass shit, but also shut down mons with the Klutz plus switcheroo, sorry. And yeah, that's the squad. Lopunny, Nidoqueen, Weaver, Crobats, Aromatisse, Aselga, Rotom Wash, Victini, Tangrowth, Mega Aggron, Hitmontop. Very good synergy overall. In my opinion, that's a top 5 draft in the league. There were some very good drafts, some drafts I don't agree with, but definitely drafts that can do a lot of damage. And I think we have great competition, much better competition than last season, I have to say, because we got like some really good players that I know or that I have watched videos from. And yeah, I'm really hyped for the season. It will start in like 3 or 4 weeks, I believe, around the 14th of August, I believe, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I'm really hyped to use some mons that I have never used in form, for example, Victini, Mega Aggron. I haven't used Weaver in a while. I've never used Lopunny, and I haven't used Crobat for over a year in the format, I believe, so I'm hyped to use my mascot again. And I want to defend my title, and I expect nothing less from me, because that's what I do. I win leagues, and I'm not saying I will win the league, but I'm saying I will give it my all to win the league, and there's a good chance that I'll be back in the finals and win the whole thing again, because like that's my goal whenever I join a league. I don't join leagues for fun. I join it because I want to win. And yeah, I will obviously upload for this season. Will be a showdown league, and I think battles will always go up on Sunday, just like in the PMC, which will be over by then. And yeah, that's it basically. Let me know in the comments what you think of my team, and like what other picks you would have made in certain spots. And yeah, catch you whenever.